All right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 2004 Chevy Suburban. Up front is a 5.3 liter V8 and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. And if you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be writing a complete article about the Chevy Suburban. Let's get back to that 5.3 liter V8. Well, it's an LS V8. A lot of people use this V8 in a lot of swaps that they do. My friend actually put one in an RX-7. Very, very common motor. And that means that there's a pretty heavy aftermarket for this motor. If parts break, they're pretty easily available because Chevy put them into so many different things and a lot of people build them. Let me get on it a little bit here. Foot on the floor. Not bad though. I mean, it can get out of its own way, and I think that's all it really needs to do. Now, this is the smallest motor that was offered with the Suburban. You could go all the way up to an 8.1 liter, but you really only get that if you really hate having a full wallet. The 4-speed automatic transmission is a 4L60E. It's a pretty common GM transmission, and honestly, it's a pretty good transmission. It's a strong transmission. And it also allows you to tow. You can tow with the Suburban, which is a huge, huge bonus because you get the 3 rows of seating, which we'll talk about when we talk about the interior, but you also get the capability of towing, which minivans don't give you that capability. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then it is 4-wheel drive as well. That is a really nice feature, is that it has 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low, or you can just leave it in auto 4-wheel drive. You'll kind of let the car determine what it wants to be in. So it being a 5.3 liter V8, it actually does sound really good. When you actually get on it, you don't move a whole lot, but you do sound good while doing it. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of different gauges. I have oil pressure, battery voltage, fuel, and water temperature on the right. On the left, I have RPMs, and in the center, I get my speedometer. Now, it is sort of a common issue for these gauge clusters to kind of go bad. Sometimes the speedometers don't read accurately. So if you are planning on picking up a Suburban, Tahoe, or Silverado from this era, just be mindful of that. Ask the previous owner if they had it redone. This has a remanufactured gauge cluster or rebuilt, so it's good to go. To the left, I get my 4-wheel drive controls. That's, like I said, you have the 2 high, 4 high, 4 low, and auto. I get all of my light settings. It has a 2-speed rear wiper. Choose 1 or 2, and then your fog light button. To the left over here, I have power mirrors, child locks, and all of the window buttons. On the steering wheel, surprisingly, I actually don't have any buttons. There's the airbag and obviously the horn. In the center, the radio has since been changed out, although the factory radios from GM aren't actually that bad. I've driven other Tahoes with the same radio, and they're not half bad. Down below that, you get your heating and air conditioning controls. It actually has dual climate zones, which I feel like is a pretty big deal for 2004. So your passenger can choose a different heat level or amount of air conditioning than the driver, which is really nice. Especially if you have a girlfriend, because they're always cold and you're always hot, and so you can actually save yourself from having a fight. Then down below that, you get 2 cigarette lighters, so you can plug in anything you want. And then to the very right, you get one of the largest glove boxes I think I've ever seen. The door looks 2 feet long, and then you get a nice grab handle on the dash as well. So up above the dash, you have more heating and air conditioning controls, and that's for the rear passengers. You could set it over to auxiliary and they can control their own right up here, or you can control it for them. Say if you have little kids or you just hate your rear passengers, either or, you can control their heating and air conditioning controls that way. Another thing that should be noted is that you do have a 4-way adjustable power seat for the driver, which is nice, especially for 2004, but you don't get heated seats, and the seats are cloth. But I said this in my Toyota Chaser review. I don't understand why car manufacturers moved away from cloth. They're a lot more comfortable. Yeah, if you spill a juice box, it's harder to wipe up, but other than that, I prefer cloth almost every day of the week. Speaking of seats, this SUV vehicle has 9 seats, has 9 usable seats, 9 seat belts. That's including the driver, so you can carry up to 8 other people, which I think is a huge point of the Suburban, is that you can carry literally everyone. The only next step up would be a short bus. All right, so we are in the back of the Suburban. That is Dustin. He owns the Suburban. And it's just as comfortable back here as it is up front. These seats have a lot of bolstering in them. They're cloth, so they're super comfortable. They're warm, especially on a day like this. I think it's like 40 degrees and raining. So they're definitely super comfortable. How's it back there?
It's pretty comfortable. It's actually stadium style seating, I would say. So you sit higher, so you can almost see down on the front passengers.
And that's really nice because if you want to have a conversation, you don't feel super far away.
Right.
Which is super nice. The Nissan Xterra has a similar seating style, although, speaking of lifts, I drove a lifted Nissan Xterra and it felt so scary to drive. I thought it was going to tip at every moment, and the Suburban does not feel like that, which is good, but we'll talk about the lift in a little bit. I do get 2 cup holders. Other than that, I don't actually have any other cup holders, so if you are packing 9 people in here, cup holders might be an issue. In the back, there are cup holders on either side that are stationary, so those don't move, so you will for sure have cup holders back there. In a second, we'll take a look at the trunk. I'll just show a video here. I don't need to talk about it around back, but the trunk is very large. That is one of the big draws of the Suburban, is that you get the larger trunk with the third row of seating. If you take the third row of seating out, you can basically fit an RX-7 in the back. You might chop it a little bit, but you could fit almost anything in the back if you remove the third row of seating. Other than that, I have 2 little lights up here. They have a really satisfying click. I have my air conditioning and heating controls, as well as it should be noted that there are vents over the third row of seating. So that's a big issue that I found in a lot of SUVs and stuff, that they don't have vents over the third row. So first row's good, second row's good, but the third row kind of gets screwed, and that's where you usually put the smallest of kids, so they should get adequate heating and cooling. It's not fair. In the back, Dustin, you want to pull that out and show the audience? There's trays that are removable in the back, and which is nice because if you spill something, you can pull it out and wash it, but also it hides the jack in case you have to put a spare tire on, which with the lift, I think you're screwed. Overall, there's just something about this SUV that's very nostalgic. The interior is very welcoming. And I talked about this in the last Tahoe, or the last non-police Tahoe that I reviewed, and the fact that these vehicles really embody the American spirit. America has a bit of excess. We like big space. You can seat your whole family and your golden retriever. You could take this on a long road trip. You can haul your boat to go fishing, whatever you needed to do. This truck, this SUV, this vehicle, I don't really know what to call it. We'll stick with SUV. It really can do it all. And like I was saying earlier, even though I didn't have one of these as a kid, I knew a bunch of people that did, either the shorter Tahoe or the bigger Suburban, and it just has a very welcoming, very comfortable feel. I felt very at home once I got into this. Maybe it's the plush seats, I really like the green lighting that they have on the odometer and the instruments. It's this nice green that's not in your face. Like, I reviewed a Nissan 370Z and everything is orange. Everything is orange in that interior, and it's not very welcoming, but this is very calm. It's sort of naturey. You get the nice tan. It's a really good look. It's really comfortable, and I think that's the biggest draw for me personally with this Suburban, is just how comfortable and how welcoming it is. Now, we got to talk about the outside because it's a little bit different than stock. It's on a 6-inch rough country lift with 35-inch tires that are 12.5 inches wide. This is not the stock ride height. I will try to find a stock image of the stock ride height vehicle because this is definitely not it. This is sitting up a lot higher than any other Suburban. It has aftermarket tow mirrors. These are not factory, as well as the taillights are not factory. But that being said, we'll do, I guess, a quick little review of the rough country lift, or a lifted vehicle review, because this is, I believe, the tallest vehicle I've ever reviewed. It's definitely nice to be up above people. You feel very disconnected from the road, and sure, from like a sports car driver standpoint, you don't want that. But you're up above people. You feel up and out of the way. The Suburban is very, very good at being floaty. Like I said earlier, with the interior, it's comfortable, but also the ride is comfortable. It has actual coil springs in the rear, which I think really helps add to it. It really feels like I'm driving a giant black cloud. It's so smooth. And as I was talking at that stoplight earlier, it reminded me, I'm not yelling. I don't have to yell at you. I don't have to yell into my microphone to get my point across in this video. I can just casually talk, and it's totally normal. And there's something to be said about that. This feels very luxury, even though it's not the luxury trim. This is actually close to the base model. I mean, besides the aftermarket parts, this is the base. And still, it's quiet, it's relaxing. And so I can only imagine, because the Escalade shared this chassis, the Escalade, it must be great. That's probably why every rapper in 2004 owned one. Even with the lift kit, it's still a comfortable ride. Even with the 35-inch tires, it's still a comfortable ride. So that just really speaks volumes at Chevy's ride quality. I mentioned it earlier, but let's get into it. You cannot tow a boat and bring your family and your dog with a Honda Odyssey. You just can't. It doesn't have that capability. But this, you can fit everyone in. You can tow your boat. You can take it to the river or wherever boats usually go. I don't know, I'm not a boat enthusiast. But you can bring literally everything you need and seat everyone comfortably. And that's a big draw over the Silverado, because they do have Silverado crew cabs and you know, 4-door Silverados, sure, but no Silverado will comfortably fit 9 people. It's just not gonna happen. And that's why you would get a Suburban. There's really only 2 downsides that I see to the Suburban. And the first one is the gas mileage. Because it's heavy, because it has a 5.3 liter V8, it doesn't sip gas. I'll leave it at that. And really the only other issue I would see with owning a Suburban, and I'm speaking from experience because I used to own a pickup truck that had really comfy seats like this, but these are comfier. And I was really tired one time, and I fell asleep while driving. So I would be worried if I had a Suburban that was this comfortable, and it was warm, and I was tired, that I might fall asleep behind the wheel. That's how comfortable these seats really are. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 2004 Chevy Suburban. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshall.com/overdrive. But again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.